The weird is getting weirder. The Cardinals put out a statement, and is the Rams winning the Super Bowl the best thing to happen to the Arizona Cardinals in 2021? Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. Let's go, baby!
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, the 2021 season is finally over. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked on Cardinals. Thank you for making Locked on Cardinals your first listen throughout the 2021 season. We ain't going anywhere. This offseason is going to be excellent. Free agency is right around the corner. Then the draft, and then, the dog days of summer don't exist on Locked on Cardinals. So we're going to have some of the best guests in the business. We're going to have content for you every single day. And thanks for keeping it locked with Locked on Cardinals. This is a huge podcast today. Who would have thought that on the heels of the Rams winning the Super Bowl, which we're going to talk about in the final segment, that the Cardinals are at the forefront of the NFL news cycle outside of the Super Bowl for the worst reasons possible. Okay? What we've seen so far is the Arizona Cardinals turtling surrounding Kyler Murray's situation of scrubbing his Instagram, et cetera, the things that we've talked about. We haven't heard anything from the Arizona Cardinals, except for reports that they're defending Kyler Murray and their relationship with him until recently. Bo's going to go over that quote in a second. There was a report from local radio that Kyler Murray calls his girlfriend during halftime, puts his headphones on, calls his girlfriend during halftime. Okay? The Arizona Cardinals are notorious for leaking false information to have this smoke screen up, which is completely ridiculous. They're trying to outsmart everybody for no reason whatsoever. They're running a one-person race, and they're trying to beat themselves. Like, it's the weirdest thing possible. We'll hit that in the second segment. Also, Rams win the Super Bowl. Does that mean the disbanding of what once was, over the last 4 or 5 years, one of the powerhouses of the NFC West? We'll discuss it. Bo Brack, follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Numbers are going up every day. Thank you to everybody, again, who makes Locked on Cardinals your first listen every day. Listen, Bo Brack is going to give you the quote from the Arizona Cardinals. They posted and said, you know what? We're in Kyler Murray's corner, but how they framed it pissed me the hell off. Bo, what did they say, and what are your initial thoughts before I let loose?
The Cardinals released a statement to Pro Football Talk on the heels of the Chris Mortensen report that Kyler Murray was frustrated with the Arizona Cardinals. He felt like he was being scapegoated, as far as being framed as the scapegoat for the brutal loss in the Monday Night Football playoff debacle against the now world champion Los Angeles Rams. The Cardinals issued this following statement. The PFT, quote, "Nothing has changed regarding our opinion and high regard for Kyler Murray. We as a team and Kyler individually have improved each year since he's been in the league. We are excited to continue that improvement in 2022 and are excited that Kyler Murray is the quarterback leading us," close quote.
What are your thoughts?
This is an absolute just debacle. This is a complete disaster. Still, Kyler Murray has the power to change the narrative if he wants to, but I firmly believe that this is a negotiation tactic that somebody of my age and somebody older than me and Alex, they would have a tough time grasping, as far as what good does this do when you're trying to negotiate yourself a mega $1 million extension. But it continues on. Kyler Murray has even been active on social media. He congratulated Matthew Stafford after his win, disabled the comments, which is almost worse than having comments and just getting lit up on social media. But, I think it's a negotiation tactic. Otherwise, he wouldn't be taking the beating that he's currently taking. But as far as what the Cardinals are doing, is they're not doing themselves any favors. Like, I don't know. There's just no direction. It continues to be a rudderless ship, this organization, from the top down. I mean, from Michael Bidwill to general manager Steve Keim to Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach, to the social media person that's unfollow, that's playing the joke along with Kyler Murray, that's kind of throwing shade and kind of trolling the quarterback. Like it's just a mess. It's a mess, and it's not helping this organization in any way, and it's only just continuing to muddy up the waters.
Yeah. The biggest issue I had with their quote was, first of all, man/woman the hell up and get in front of a camera and say it. What are we doing here? The owner, the general manager, turtle when bad things happen, when things aren't going swimmingly. When they're winning games, they're on the sidelines, they're laughing it up. And when bad things happen, they're ghosts. They're gone. Get in front of a damn camera. You believe this? You mean this? Get in front of a camera and say it. We back up our quarterback. Even if you don't believe it 100% of the time, that doesn't matter. These optics are terrible. This is an inept franchise over the last 50 years showing their ineptitude once again in a situation where they have to hit a home run. They have to hit a home run. Kyler Murray is not 100% without blame. I get that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the leaders of this organization, the guy who signs the paychecks, the guy who drafts and signs free agents are ghosts. They're gone. Get in front of a damn camera. I mean, is that completely out of the realm of rationality here?
Well, like, if you want your quarterback to take accountability, if you want your quarterback to take a step as far as forward, maturity wise, then lead the way as an organization. General manager Steve Keim, if he wants to be the guy to be the face of this franchise, we know Michael Bidwill loves the camera as well. Like if they want to be, the mouthpieces for this organization, the face of this organization, then show, like Mike Garafolo had the report that they want him to take a step forward as far as maturity, as far as a leader, as far as speaking up in the locker room. All right, well, go do it yourselves. Go do it yourselves. Don't stand behind statements that are sent to one media outlet. It wasn't even a statement that was sent to all the media. Alex and I would have received it. It's hypocritical. It's not leading by example, and it's just continuing to kind of keep things. This fan base has questions, and if you truly stand behind Kyler Murray, then why haven't we heard from the brain trust about what which direction they want to go this offseason? And look, maybe they're just like, okay, we're going to talk after the season's officially done. Maybe the NFL is like, hey, don't make any official statements while we're going through. This is our time before the big games play, before we have our Super Bowl and we have a champion. Maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe they can't step out of line, but still, I think there's definitely better ways to get to send the message that Kyler's your guy.
Yeah, that's the smartest thing you've ever said on this podcast. All joking aside, if you want maturity from your quarterback, you got to show some damn maturity yourself. And own up, stand up. You're the owner. You're the general manager. Get your ass in front of a camera and say it. Don't put it in words and publish it like a bunch of cowards.
You're an hour away from Los Angeles. You're an hour flight away from Los Angeles, where we just were covering leading up to the big game. Kyler Murray was probably the second biggest story, probably the biggest story outside of the game all week. Bidwill could have been out there talking about Kyler's our guy. Keim could have been out there. Kyler's our guy. Send Cliff Kingsbury. Kyler's our guy. They didn't. Why not? That's because the biggest thing here is I just don't think they know. They can't definitively say, hey, he's our guy. We want to move forward with this guy. We're ready to back up the Brinks truck. Despite everything that would tell you he is. I know that the maturity thing is a big issue. The leadership thing is a big issue because you need that. Just look at the quarterbacks who were in the Super Bowl on Sunday. It's very important as far as the position's concerned. It's just, I don't know what's going on. And that's the biggest issue.
Alex, Clancy and Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. This is not going to end. We're going to continue this conversation. And remember when people were giving other people crap, will remain nameless, about this Kyler Instagram story being nothing? It's something. So you cannot be worried about it but it's something because it's the Arizona Cardinals. Because it's the Arizona Cardinals, it's something. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. That ain't the only story about Kyler Murray that's come out in the last 36 hours. It was my turn. I need a Ludens. I need a throat lozenge. It's going to be Bo's turn to need like a neti pot or whatever after we talk about this next topic. Next, Locked On Cardinals. First, something we're excited about as always. Even though football's over, basketball's in full steam for both pro and college hoops. March Madness is right around the corner, baby. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. You know it's serious when I don't dipsy doodle around the end of a live read. Follow him at Bob Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay in our comments. Stay in our mentions. We're building this together. And without you, there is no us. So we really appreciate everybody who's around. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. The Cardinals came out with a statement, cowardice at its finest, trying to show that they care, I guess. I don't know if they're on vacation drinking Mai Tais and they don't have time to get in front of a camera. I just think this is more status quo of the inability of Michael Bidwell and Steve Keim to run a normal ship of an organization. Now, that's not the only story that happened over the last 36 hours. Bo, we had a local mouthpiece, a guy that's well-respected around the Valley. He wrote for AZ Central. He's now at 98.7 as well. He's been at 97 for a while. He had an interesting tidbit that was quickly and vehemently denied by another well-respected person around the Valley. Why don't you paint this picture for us and then we can discuss?
Yeah, so Chuck Harris, I believe, is it Cards Wire?
I think so.
Kind of tipped us off to this. He tweeted it out. Yeah, Cards Wire staff writer over there. Chuck Harris covers the Arizona Cardinals. Was under fire for saying that Kyler Murray. There was no news about his offseason last year. But Chuck Harris, he tweeted out a quote from Dan Bickley, as you mentioned, the Cardinals' flagship radio station, 98.7. That this is what he heard. I recently heard that at halftime of games, Kyler is known to call his girlfriend or sit at his locker wearing earbuds. In other words, not exactly plugged in to the collective. That's what Chuck Harris heard via 98.7 and Dan Bickley, morning show host there at Arizona Sports, which would just be absolutely brutal. And we wouldn't, if this is something that actually happened, we would have heard it. Like, you think J.J. Watt's going to allow his franchise quarterback to sit there talking to his girlfriend, gabbing about what they're getting for dinner if the Arizona Cardinals are, needing to make adjustments at halftime? That was quickly debunked by former Arizona azcardinals.com reporter Kyle Odegaard, who's been on this podcast a couple times. He's now writing for compare.bet, and he said that report is a flat-out lie. That's coming from an inside source in the Arizona Cardinals organization, that the report from Dan Bickley that at halftime of games, Kyler Murray is known to call his girlfriend or just sit in his locker room wearing earbuds is completely false.
Which side do you believe?
I believe Kyle Odegaard, but at the same time, this is what people have to understand. People have different sources. So what one source may know might not be privy to other information. So look, Bickley's source may be legit. I have my idea of who it could be. As far as halftime of games, the only people, there's no reporters, there's no media in the locker room at halftime. There's no access at all. So it's players, it's coaches. So it'd have to be coming from a coach or a player. I don't really believe this one, because I think that, regardless of what you think about the coaching staff, the players, guys like DeAndre Hopkins, guys that are leaders on this team, would not put up with that type of behavior.
No, agreed. This is not the first time the Arizona Cardinals have, and you're right, sources are sources. Everybody's got their own. But this is, again, not the first time the Arizona Cardinals have given out false information to, keep people away from the truth. It's the dumbest thing that the Arizona Cardinals do. Well, I mean, how is that possible? But it's one of the weird, quirky kind of things that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Giving false information on purpose to act as red herring to deter people from finding out what's really going on. They're playing hide and seek with themselves. Like it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I will 100% side with Kyle Odegaard here. If that and you're right, if that were the case, we would have found out about this a lot earlier, right? I mean, as you said, like there's no way this is true. Now, having said that, Dan Bickley, again, very respected, and this is not a knock on him directly. This is the conversation that we're having for both sides. What? This is just getting. You know what this does is this is a breeding ground for unprecedented things. And I don't know what that is, but if this continues, Kyler Murray's not going to be an Arizona Cardinal anymore. Like I don't know why people think that, oh, it'll be fine. They said they love him, so it'll be fine. Well, somebody wrote that. You haven't heard that from people's mouths, I'm sure. And we have Cam Cox. I love Cam Cox from 12 News. He and I go back and forth a lot on Twitter. He defends Steve Keim and Michael Bidwell's love for Kyler Murray, and they've constantly said that over and over again. I go back, when they're winning, sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. When things are positive, Steve Keim is hibernating somewhere, and we don't know where he is because things aren't going well, and this is exactly what happens constantly. So if you think that a team offers him 3 first-round picks and this continues, Kyler Murray's not going to be an Arizona Cardinal anymore.
Now, hold on. I want you to consider the source and where it's being reported from, because I think and when you talk about sources, the organization has the ability, the power, especially over reporters and people who want to be insiders, to put out information that they want put out in the public arena, and that the organization can say, we had nothing to do with that. Yeah, that is a flat out lie. That doesn't. But if Kyler Murray is trying to weaponize his social media, if Kyler Murray is trying to use it as, leverage to negotiate a big deal, the organization can put out and use their sources and give it to their insiders and the reporters to put something out there that's not going to be tied back to the organization, to try to, this is a Kyler issue where Kyler is saying, I'm unhappy with the organization. You know what I mean? I think that a lot of the stuff that's being leaked and being reported now that wasn't reported for the entire season's length of time until Kyler Murray scrubbed and purged his Instagram and Twitter is now coming out, because who benefits from it? I mean, the organization can't have people just 100% be in the corner of Kyler Murray. And things get ugly, especially when it comes down to, have you ever, arbitration is one of the worst things that ever happens. It usually happens in baseball. Where organizations are pitted up against players and they just have to pretty much dress down the player and why he doesn't deserve the money that he feels like he's deserved. I mean, this is ugly. And I think that the organization is kind of trying to weaponize their insiders, their reporters, by feeding all these, conflicting reports. And that's just me speculating.
Sure. Oh, and before I get absolutely obliterated, I'm not saying they're going to trade Kyler Murray. I'm saying that if things don't stop, your ability to say, oh, everything's going to be fine, you're insane if you think that we know exactly what's going to happen in the future. Okay, so if things don't change, and if the Cardinals stay cardinaling, Kyler Murray could definitely say, get me the hell out of here. He could. Okay? I'm not saying it'll happen. And one last thing, tying a bow on this. Eric Burkhart's either going to look like a genius or not.
Well,
the agent for Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray.
Everybody's been muzzled. Everybody in Kyler's camp is quiet, dead quiet. I mean, we had a guest on the show that said, "I'm not coming on right now." I mean, it's all like everybody's muzzled right now from Kyler's camp. They're being quiet. Leaks are coming out. There was the report that Kyler Murray wanted to pull himself out of the playoff game. He said, I'm done, and he wanted Colt McCoy to go in the game. This is all coming out right now. Like, there's a reason it's coming out right now. And it's not because, people are just being better reporters and digging a little bit deeper. It's because that information, I got to believe, is being fed to them to try to make Kyler Murray look brutal.
Yeah, which is... It's It's like two cousins getting drunk and fighting at a wedding. Nobody wants to
Is
see
that
it.
happen in the Clancy family?
I don't listen. If it did, I would kind of deflect it to a different example. But it doesn't matter. Like, this is bizarre, and it's on brand, kind of, and it could be nothing, and it could be Armageddon. Okay,
problem is
I don't
it's
know which one it's going to
working.
be.
It's working. The fan base is split. Like,
Yeah.
people are questioning that the NFL offensive rookie, the year 2-time Pro Bowler, Kyler Murray, who on most of anybody's list is a top 10 quarterback, and that's being, really general. He's about almost fringe top 5. And people are saying, well, should they sign him? Like, is he a guy we can move forward with? Yes. Like, it's unbelievable. But, at the same token, I'll say this. The person that can really control the noise just by coming out and talking is Murray, but his camp, silent.
And I think it's right. I think it's right. I think we know what's going on over there. And I don't know unless, he comes out and says, listen, I want money. This is a bargaining ploy. It's not going to happen. Like, why would he ever say that? If that's what this is, it is legitimately again, Eric Burkhardt's going to be a genius or he won't be. Both for Cliff with the Oklahoma thing, and then Kyler Murray scrappy. I don't think he has his hands in everything, but there was something on social media, and then there wasn't.
Right.
Okay?
Well,
he's not doing it because it's a Thursday. Hey, this should be fun.
This is a walk in the park for Eric Burkhardt. He was Johnny Manziel's agent. I mean, come on, dude. It's nothing. You think a few, mean things said about his client are going to throw Eric Burkhardt for a loop? No. I mean, he had Johnny Football as his guy.
We'll take that as it lay. Alex Clancy, Bo Brack, Locked On Cardinals. Follow him at Bo Brack. Follow me at Clancy's Corner. Let's lighten it up a little bit, because I think what happened on Sunday was the best thing to happen to the Arizona Cardinals in the entirety of the 2021 NFL season. You know what I'm also excited about? RockAuto is back, baby. I don't know anything about cars. It's a new year and nothing's changed. RockAuto.com allows me to not feel awkward, not feel nervous, not feel, lesser than just because I don't know anything about cars going into a chain storefront. So I go to rockauto.com. There's a couple things that I know. One, they're a family-owned business. They've been online for 20 years. 2, everything gets delivered to your doorstep. And 3, you're not going to get upcharged, 30, 40, 50, even 100% because you're at a chain storefront and the supply chain issues are there. They're not going to have, chain storefronts are going to have everything you need at all times. RockAuto.com more than likely will. Go to rockauto.com, write Locked On in there, how did you hear about us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices. All the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. Rams are Super Bowl champions. I mean, Travis Rogers just rolls in off ESPN LA. It's like, you know what? Gotcha. Poor Sosa. Sosa Kremenjas, former Locked On Rams host. The dude he's a gem. I'll tell you what, Sosa is a gem. So there's people that, will tweet. They're like, was that person inebriated? Sosa will tell you ahead of time. From now on, I'll be tweeting inebriatedly. And if I get emotional, it's because I love this team and whatever. And you know what? Good for Sosa, good for Travis. Big win by the Rams. It was kind of an ugly finish. You thought that the Bengals had that game in the bag twice. But so let's pivot here. There's plenty of Kyler Murray talk. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. We're going to talk about it the next day. We're going to talk about it Friday because it's the most important thing for this organization. And there's a lot of question marks surrounding it, whether it be smokescreen or not. I think that the Rams winning the Super Bowl is the best thing that could happen to the Arizona Cardinals moving forward for a couple reasons. One, obviously, you'd never want a division opponent to win the Super Bowl. Why? Who cares? Every team in the NFL is your rival. Sure, there are those blue blood rivals. The AFC North, it's usually cold weather places where they've been around forever, whether it's, the Bears and the Packers or whatever. But let me just tell you really quick. Between the top 7 paid players for the Rams, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Leonard Floyd, Cooper Kupp, Andrew Whitworth, and Robert Woods, they're looking at about, let me just do the math here, 50, 70, 90, 100, 110, 120, about $140 million between those guys' cap hits next year. Okay? That's Odo Beckham, free agent. Von Miller, free agent. Sony Michel, free agent, lesser than, that Darrell Henderson came in and played pretty well during the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of cheese for not a lot of players. You have to start 22 players, okay? And 7 of them put up about 70% of the salary cap for next year, 65% of the salary cap for next year. Things are going to change, and they have much more likely chance of changing because they just won a ring. Is that crazy? I think it's like disbanding I put on Twitter may be a little bit too, cut and dry.
Yeah.
Like one side of the spectrum or the other. But I'll tell you what, there's going to have to be a lot of New Orleans Saints restructuring there to keep those guys. And that's Cooper Kupp is the lowest paid of all of them. Yeah. And he was arguably the MVP of the league this year. So things are going to get weird. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it for the Rams.
Heavy is the crown. I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, you see a mass exodus. You see, I remember guys who win like the Super Bowl MVP and they get paid for that one game performance, and then they just fall off a cliff the next couple seasons. What was the guy for the Seahawks? The linebacker. He won the MVP. He signs with like the Raiders, and he's like barely even a factor. Was it like Malcolm Brown or something like that?
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Anyway, that's how unmemorable the guy was. But yeah, it's going to be this was Smith. An all-in. Yeah. Malcolm Smith. When you talk to Travis Rogers from Locked On Rams, I mean, this was them pushing all of their chips in the middle of the table. The only problem with this in this poker game, you don't double up. You don't just get to play on and you've got your full stack. I mean, it's game over and then you start over again. But the Rams, I mean, they gave up a couple picks, obviously in the Stafford deal. They gave up picks in the Von Miller deal. I mean, they are the cupboard is pretty bare as far as the Rams and how they're going to be able to rebuild this thing. It is going to take a lot of generosity from the players to restructure and then put some money in some dummy years going forward. And it's just going to create a disaster at some point. It's all going to come imploding in on the Rams. We'll see what happens with Aaron Donald. If you're Kyler Murray and you're the Arizona Cardinals, you say, hey, ride off in the sunset, please, number 99, please. You're just a nightmare each and every year. And just figure it out that way. But you're right. Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford, Jalen Ramsey, who had a bad Super Bowl. He's still one of the best corners in the league. They've got the key players at key positions that you're always going to be able to attract and the destination that's going to bring in people for maybe discounts. But it's going to be tough for them to get back to a position to really contend for a Super Bowl in back-to-back years or, even going sustained, success.
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Like the Seahawks haven't won the Super Bowl for 7 years. Was it 2013? They haven't won the Super Bowl for 8 seasons.
Yeah.
And the Rams got back in 2017 or 2018, whatever year it was. And then now they win. It's like, the 49ers, like the odds for 20, I'm going to throw up with San Francisco being 12-1. They're like the fifth highest odds. If you can start plucking away great players from the NFC West, that's a good thing. Cardinals weren't going to win the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter who wins it. It doesn't matter at all, except for free agent purposes. Aaron Donald may walk away, even though he's going to make a lot of money next year. I'm assuming he's not going to retire, but we've seen crazier things. I mean, he's set to make he's set to make 20 plus next year. He's set to make $22 million next year. So, it's a means to an end where if they would have lost last year, everybody's restructuring, everybody's running it back because they believe in Matthew Stafford, except for like when we talked about before the Super Bowl, like if he would have gone 19 for 40 with 3 interceptions, they lose by 3 touchdowns, save that. They're bringing him back. So, but I don't know.
One thing you can hang your hat on as far as the Cardinals go, the Rams in the second half of the Super Bowl made Joe Burrow, at least his offensive line, Burrow had a little bit better, the results, there was no pick six, but they put the clamps down on that offense in the second half like they did the Arizona Cardinals in the first half of their playoff game. You can say, okay, they didn't just do it to us. Like we weren't just the they were doing it to everybody. And then also when Odell Beckham Jr. went out of that game and they were able to kind of slow down that offense for a while, at least the Bengals were, and kind of hold serve. It came down to just looking at number 10 and Cooper Kupp, your triple crown in receiving, and they looked at him 4 times on the go ahead score. The Arizona Cardinals did not have DeAndre Hopkins down the stretch. Kyler Murray did not have his Cooper Kupp. And how important your number 1 wide receiver is, especially when beyond that you've got an aging AJ Green, you've got Christian Kirk who's a fringe 2, and you've got Rondale Moore who was battling injuries and inconsistent after week 2. DeAndre Hopkins had 8 catches in the red zone. He had 8 touchdowns and 15 targets in 10 games. I mean, you take that weapon out of this lineup, it's just it's a devastating blow. Now, to make the excuse, there's no excuse for how they played down the stretch, but that was a big factor. It was a big factor for the Rams offense, and they had Cooper Kupp. I mean, they barely beat the Bengals. So
yeah. Tyler Higbee was out too. 2 of his biggest weapons were out. Yeah, no, it's true. You hope Odell Beckham Jr. It looked like an ACL. He was walking around, so hopefully it's not.
Is that his second one?
Yeah, same knee.
The thing about ACL is you can walk on it, you just can't cut. You can't go side to side.
Right. So yeah, I mean, listen, this is jam packed. This is not going to slow down. Just because it's the offseason doesn't mean it's the offseason.
At least we don't have to break down the defensive line coach hiring.
Yeah. Well, that's right. They did that. Cool.
Matt Burke. Look, the Arizona Cardinals defensive line under Brenson Buckner. I liked Buckner, but it wasn't a strength. So new guy in there. Is that the move though? Maybe we talk about that tomorrow. Is that all they're going to do to this coaching staff?
I would just give for a Steve Keim sighting. If anybody sees it, DM me on Twitter. If you send me a picture, I just want to make sure that he's not hibernating, and we'll actually see him before free agency, where he'll make this miraculous return when people forget about the downfall of the last 2 halves of the last 2 seasons. Clancy and Bo Brack, get in front of a camera and say it about Kyler Murray. Damn it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.